Good afternoon. For Research and Professional Development Day at University of St. Augustine for Health Sciences, the poster presentation titled Participation in the Min-4-Max Challenge to Combat Sedentary Behaviors in Higher Education. A case study by Drs. Bonnie Rogolj and Leisha Hicks will be shared virtually with attendees. The purpose of the case study presentation is to raise awareness of the potential increased risk of sedentary behaviors among members of higher education. Furthermore, the presentation may provide an example of a useful clinical tool for tracking both activity and sedentary behaviors. Finally, the presentation will review clinically proven benefits and risks that are associated with such behaviors. The Min-4-Max Challenge is an activity log created with the primary purpose of tracking both activity and sedentary behaviors among members of higher education. The goals of the Min-4-Max Challenge include for the challenge participants to achieve at least the minimum recommended amount of aerobic physical activity to promote substantial health benefits, raise awareness of the federal physical activity guidelines, achieve benefits associated with physical activity, and combat deleterious effects associated with sedentary behavior. Sedentary behavior is defined as behaviors performed at a level of less than or equal to 1.5. Metabolic equivalence. Based on the Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans, 2nd edition, adults should perform at least 150 to 300 minutes a week of moderate intensity, or 75 to 150 minutes a week of vigorous intensity aerobic physical activity, or an equivalent combination of moderate and vigorous intensity aerobic activity. According to the ACSM's Guidelines for Exercise Testing and Prescription, 11th edition, moderate intensity activity exercise is performed at 40 to 59% HRR, 3 to 5.9 metabolic equivalents, and 12 to 13 RPE. Comparatively vigorous intensity activity exercise is performed at greater than 60% HRR, greater than 6 METs, and greater than 14 RPE. Case description statement. A 38-year-old Caucasian female who is currently enrolled as a part-time student in a higher education institution, a full-time higher education leader, and serving as a primary caregiver role participated in the Min-4-Max Challenge. For the Min-4-Max Challenge, the participant completed the log for tracking both performed activity and sedentary behaviors over the course of an entire week. The log, pictured as an image on the central portion of the poster presentation, included mathematical formulas to calculate maximum heart rate and heart rate reserve. Additionally, the log included the recommended physical activity guidelines, information related to moderate and vigorous intensity activity, a definition of sedentary behavior, and the Borg rating of perceived exertion scale. The log also provided spacing for note-taking to record details related to performance. Lastly, the log provided a goal section for the participant to record the percentage met or unmet based on completion of the minimum PAG and daily time percentage spent in sedentary behavior. The case study findings reveal the participant met the Min-4-Max Challenge goal of achieving the minimum recommended physical activity guidelines based on the Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans, 2nd edition. During participation in the Min-4-Max Challenge, the participant was able to achieve the minimum recommendation by performing physical activities such as household cleaning, walking, jogging, and sports. The findings were based on assessment of resting heart rate, maximal heart rate, calculation of heart rate max, calculation of heart rate reserve, rating of perceived exertion, and the monitoring and documenting of activity. The majority of the physical activity that contributed to the participant having met the recommended PAG was classified as moderate intensity. Moderate intensity activity exercise is performed at 40 to 59% HRR, 3 to 5.9 metabolic equivalents, and 12 to 13 RPE. Throughout the entirety of the week-long challenge, the participants' activity log for tracking both performed activity and sedentary behaviors also revealed an increased amount of time spent performing sedentary behavior. Sedentary behaviors documented by the participant included resting, studying, typing on a computer, cell phone usage, and watching television in various positions. In conclusion, there presently exists an increased amount of sedentary behavior globally. Previous research has shed light on self-reported findings that less than half of adults living in the United States reportedly achieve the aerobic activity guidelines. The case study presentation is able to raise awareness of the potential risk of increased sedentary behaviors among members of higher education, contributing to the global pandemic. The presentation may also provide an example of a useful clinical tool for tracking both activity and sedentary behaviors in the realm of higher education and beyond. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to present today. References are included in the PowerPoint presentation on slides 2 and 3.